Hello and welcome to the NESN Soccer Show. I'm Marc, you're Marcus, and we've got a pretty special episode coming up. You are going to interview Kelyn Rowe, New England Revolution, Swiss Army knife, and recent U.S. men's national team standout at the Gold Cup. Had a pretty good tournament in his time there. And then he's going to stick around and we're going to do a little Premier League early season preview, look at what to expect from Wayne Rooney, from Americans in the Premier League, and I think it's going to be a pretty good show. But let's get right into your interview with Kelyn Rowe.
We have a very special edition of this week's NESN Soccer Show. Here with me is the Revolution's Mr. Versatile, Kelyn Rowe, U.S. national team midfielder, Revolution team MVP in 2016, top 10 in goals, assists, and games in club history. Thank you for joining us, Kelyn.
I appreciate you having me.
First, I want to start off the field. Are you still cooking, still into fashion?
I'm not sure the guys would agree with me, but I am into fashion.
Okay.
I have very simple style.
Yeah.
I'm a jeans and a t-shirt kind of guy, but if it fits right, it fits right.
And you've abandoned the wild colors Charlie Davies had you.
I wouldn't say abandoned, but since Charlie isn't there to give me that advice, that fatherly big brother, I'm going to make you look like a goof advice.
Yeah.
I haven't gone as far into the colors as I have.
Right, and you're well known for your humanitarian work around the league. Yeah. Humanitarian of the Year with the Revs 2014 and 15. Can you tell us a little bit about Kelyn's NEGU crew?
It's an event that brings children who may have an illness, their family has an illness, and they're not doing so great. They get to stay in the hospital for multiple days at a time, and that's all they see is lab coats. They see their family and not the greatest happiness. And so I get these kids and I get to take them and let them be a kid again. They're mostly around 12 and younger, so they're full of energy, full of excitement, and sometimes they don't know what's going on. So they get this honored game for them where they can walk on the field after the pitch or after the game and walk on the pitch, and the fans start clapping for them and they start chanting your name. It's exactly like a lap of honor. And when our home supporters chant the kid's name, telling them to never give up and always keep fighting, you can see the excitement in the kid's face. You can see the emotion in the parents' face, and it's why we do it. Yeah.
Now you are our first live guest in studio for the NESN Soccer Show.
I feel very honored for
yes,
that,
thank you for joining us. And it coincides with a big moment in your career. You were called up to the U.S. national team for the first time. I believe this is now your 6th year in MLS.
It is.
6th year as a professional, but you got the big call. So I wanted to bring you in and have you talk about that with us. And offline, we were just talking about how we spoke 5 years ago about when you were drafted as a highly touted youth national team product. I forget what pick overall, but it was high up there. Did you think you would have to wait so long to get the call up to the national team?
Yeah, 5 years seems like forever ago, doesn't it? Oh, man. It's one of those things that I always knew that I'd be back. It was a matter of when, not if. I knew that I had a lot to learn, and it's a big step going from youth to the full team. And a lot of guys can take it very easily, and myself, it needed more maturing in both my game on and off the field. How to take care of my body for a full season rather than just 3 months of the college season.
Right.
How to slow the game down or speed it up when it needs to. And when I finally got the call, it was just pure excitement because I knew I worked so hard to get there, and I deserved it.
Can you tell us about the call?
Yeah.
Did Bruce Arena call you? Did the national team secretary call you? How did you? What was that moment like?
So I got 2 calls. There was a preliminary roster, and I was lucky enough to play under Kenny Arena at UCLA.
Right.
So Bruce Arena's son.
Bruce Arena's son.
Yeah, who's also on the coaching staff. And so before the preliminary roster came out, he said, "Look, Kelyn, I'm very proud of you. You've done very well in the past years, and especially this one. You're going to make the preliminary roster. I hope you keep going." And that was the first call. And so that was like okay, you've done a little bit. Now can you do more?
Right.
And in my mind, it was like, all right, fuel on the fire, let's go.
And there was about another 2 or 3 weeks.
3-4 weeks in there, so it's like, all right, you got to impress for 3 or 4 weeks, do whatever you can. And then I got the call on my way home from practice from Bruce. And I didn't know what number it was. It was a California number. I picked it up. And, hey, Kelyn, it's Bruce Arena. My heart stopped.
Right.
Oh, God. And so, he said, I want to congratulate you, and we're going to bring you a Gold Cup, and
You're
I
on
hope you
that
do
final
well.
23
You're on
man.
the final 23-man
Right.
roster.
Now, throughout your professional career, you have played, I think last season, you played every position other than goalkeeper and center back. Showing that kind of versatility, when you went into the national team, you went on the wing, and you fared well. So how did your versatility, what role did it play during your time in the camp and during the Gold Cup?
I think for me, being able to play so many different positions, I can attack, I can defend, I can keep the ball, I can go when we need to. It just rounded out my game a little bit. And it gave me awareness for every spot they wanted to put me in. At the time, it was on the left wing, and sometimes in practice, the first couple of weeks, I was playing in the middle.
Right.
So I was able to adjust quicker and get to know the position a lot better because I've played these positions before.
Right, and Jurgen Klinsmann always talked about players being out of their comfort zone. It's almost like you were able to adjust on the fly, as you said.
I'm in my comfort zone because I'm always out of my comfort zone.
Right, right. When you're on the field, you're right. So in the Gold Cup, you became a darling of the soccer Twitter. With you had an assist
call me
against
Sweetie, not darling.
right. You had soccer Twitter Sweetie, an assist against Panama on Dom Dwyer's goal.
Yeah.
With a nice little sombrero over the defender, and then the goal against Nicaragua. Can you walk us through those moments and the reaction to them?
Yeah. I had goals before the Cup. It was to make as many starting lineups as I can, make sure I make the roster each time. And then obviously, I reached for the stars and said, I want to get an assist, I want to get a goal. So when I got the assist against Panama in the first Gold Cup game, it's like, wow. We finally broke through and we got the goal, and Dom and I have been linking up for a while and practiced that whole week. And to finally get it and the excitement that went through your body.
Yeah.
You just assisted a goal to go on and hopefully win this game, and we ended up tying, but to get a point for the national team, for the USA, it is a pride.
In your first
excitement
competitive.
in my first competitive Gold Cup game.
Right.
So I set check mark on the goal, or on the goal that I made before. It's great, and then I go out and the next game I play, I score a goal
Against Nicaragua.
Right. And again, that excitement that I had, that pride that I just did something for the USA to boost them forward, it was times 10.
With the outside of your foot.
With the outside of my right foot.
Yeah, to the near post. That
to
was.
The near post. So it was. You could see the progression of my celebration. I didn't know what happened, and then oh God, I just scored.
Right.
And then I got full excitement. So it was a little progression. It was pretty fun.
So you didn't have anything pre-planned, like no message under your T-shirt?
There was nothing pre-planned, and if I did, I don't think I would have done it because it was just so much excitement that I kind of just blacked out.
Right, like a kid all again.
Oh, absolutely.
So after 3 group stage games, you were one of the 6 players who were swapped out. Did you know all along that that was the plan, or was it a surprise?
We knew that 6 players would come in, and that 6 players would leave. There were three guys who knew they were going home because they had either family matters or a new team they were going to, whatever it may be.
Right.
So there were 3 spots that you were vying for, and for me, it was a surprise, and it was a disappointing one. But I had to take the best of it, look back and say, this was the good parts of it. You got a really good run for 3 games, and you can hopefully boost your career, as well as your time back with New England. Can I boost them up as we weren't in the best spot, struggling for some games and for some wins. Can I just bring this back and be positive throughout this, because I will be back again. Again, it's not a win. It's not about an if. It's a win.
Now you received a winner's medal, obviously.
Yes.
What have you done with the winner's medal?
It will be sent home to my mother.
Okay.
Yep. Every little trinket that I get, I also have a ball from my first cap. I have all the jerseys from first assist, first goal, and my mother is great about it. I don't like having all the memorabilia and awards. I have one award at home, and it's from the foundation that I work with, and they gave me an award for Man of the Year, and that's the only one I have. Otherwise, my mom has a nice little shrine.
She keeps the shrine.
She keeps the shrine at home, and I can see it when I go home for Christmas.
When you left the camp, the U.S. camp, you talked about lessons that you had learned with the national team, and that you hope to apply them with your club career. What were the main lessons? Maybe the main 1 or 2 or 3.
It was the confidence that you gain at the U.S. level. It's an international level. It's the highest level you could play. bring that confidence and make sure your players feel that confidence going forward. I mean, all the players that I played with, my teammates,
right.
going forward in New England. Because, I mean, every player I played with was, on the first person on the roster for their team. Half of them were captains of their team, so they knew how to lead. So I took this leadership role, really, and brought it back to New England, and just demanded more from myself, from the other teammates, from the coaching staff. I mean, we all have come together, and you could see it in the past. I would say the first 2 games I was back, and not the one in Chicago, but we're looking forward to almost 9 points if we win the game on Saturday out of 12 possible. That's pretty good going forward.
And we're going to get to the Revolution in a couple minutes. Just have 2 more questions about the U.S. How confident are you now in your chances of? You said you will be back on this team. We're entering a World Cup year now. You have that obviously as a goal. 2018 and 2022. How confident are you now, having had that experience, in your ability to play at the World Cup level?
I'm confident that I'm going to get another chance. Whether I take that chance or not, that's on me.
Right.
And I'm confident that I'm going to get that chance, and I need to be ready for it. So I'm there every day, working as hard as I can to make sure I take every single chance I can have, and then hopefully that comes before January camp. But if it's January camp, it's January camp,
right.
And I'm going to make sure I take full
there are 4
advantage.
more qualifiers coming up. Right. Are you more famous now? Having is your Twitter account gone up in the last 2-3 months?
It's actually my Instagram account.
Oh, your Instagram.
My Instagram
right.
account went up. I don't know why my Twitter. I guess I wasn't funny enough on Twitter. I'm not sure what it is.
You have to be.
But living in Boston, not many people know who the Revolution may be, or I look like a normal guy. I like to think.
Yeah.
Normal pretty boy.
You're not 7 feet.
No, I'm not.
Around.
I'm a normal human, and so every once I've actually gone to grab dinner, and I had someone come over. Hey man, nice goal.
Wow.
And I was, oh.
Was that the first
Awesome.
time in 6 years, 5 years in Boston?
I had a couple fans, little kids or parents of little kids. Hey, are you Kelyn Rowe? Nope. I'm just kidding. No, I always say yes and take pictures and things. But it was pretty cool to have.
Yeah, and that that can only grow going forward.
Right.
The Revolution are now 10th out of 11 teams in the Eastern Conference, currently out of the playoff picture. But as you said a few minutes ago, you have a big game coming up Saturday against the Vancouver Whitecaps, who have one of the phenoms of the tournament, Alphonso Davies, on that team. What is the key to turning around the Revolution season? A couple years ago, I think it was 2014, you went on this amazing run that ended
in the final
at MLS Cup at the last hurdle. What's the key to improving again?
That run that you talked about in 2014, we had a guy, a pretty big guy, Jermaine Jones, come in when we weren't doing well and boosted us forward. And like I said, he was a U.S. guy. He demanded everything. He wanted the ball. He made sure guys were doing the right things on and off the field to take care of their bodies so we can win the game on Saturday. I think that Juan Agudelo and myself coming back have brought that confidence, have brought that demand of being better. And look, when Jermaine came in, we didn't go on a win streak for 20 games.
Right.
We lost a few.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that we can bring that confidence in.
But you won about 15 out of 18 or something like that. Yeah.
So right now we're 2 for 3.
Right. And sorry.
Go for it.
You've been very good at home lately.
Yes.
There was a big win over the LA Galaxy, beat Philadelphia, and then on the road it's almost like a Jekyll and Hyde thing.
It is.
How do you rebuild that consistency, or take that home form and translate it to the road?
For me, it's mental. The game may change a little bit, tactics may change, because when a team is at home, they're going to press a little bit more. They're more comfortable with themselves, and maybe they play a different way. For us, it's about having the mental capacity to say, hey, it's the same game. We're just going out and playing soccer here. Let's go out and play and play the way we play. And if we do, we have the talent. We've seen it in games at home. We have so much talent, especially going forward.
Right.
Can we just put a game together? And it's going to take 1 or 2 great performances out of a couple players. And if once that happens, and once we break that threshold of we haven't won a game away, once we break that threshold of winning a game away, I think you'll see this season turn upside down, and you'll see us jolt forward.
And you have a new teammate coming in. And
yes.
I don't know how to pronounce his last name yet, but he's a French center back. What have you seen from him so far? Has he trained with the team? Is he?
So he'll get in tomorrow.
Okay,
and
he's not.
What's funny is you say that, as we've been asking our French players, hey man, how do I say this?
Okay.
I want to be able to say it right, because you don't want to meet the guy and say, yeah, exactly.
Right.
You don't want to say it wrong. So I still haven't gotten that yet.
Okay.
But we're working on it.
Right.
And
right.
so as long as he pronounced my name and I can pronounce his on the field, we're good to go.
Right, and you know where to,
Exactly.
he can speak soccer.
I gotta work on my left, right, step, and back in French. But we'll see how that works.
Gauche, I think, is the left.
Yeah, that's all I got.
In Major League Soccer, there's been a lot going on, especially on the transfer front.
Yes.
Jonathan Dos Santos, Mexican international, just joined the LA Galaxy. A few minutes ago, Paul Arriola, one of your national team teammates, he looks like he's on his way to DC United for a $3 million transfer. There's some money, some serious money is being thrown around MLS now.
Yeah.
How has that changed since you've been in the league?
You know, I remember little transfers here and there. I remember when Clint Dempsey came in the league, and that was one of the biggest transfers around, getting the most money. And then you saw Michael Bradley, then you saw Josie Altidore, Giovinco,
Was that
David
all in
Villa.
one summer? Or?
It just kept coming. It was like a flood. You know, all of a sudden it was a flood. But you got to remember, these guys all came from the European or the Mexican League or whatever it may be. Now, I think the biggest one for us was when Dom Dwyer got sent to Orlando for the biggest transfer fee, or just over $1 million, I believe.
Yeah, and allocation.
And that was in the MLS to another MLS team. That is what opened the door. I think that's going to open the door for young players to get moved between team and team, rather than having to go out in Europe and then make big bucks.
Come back, right.
So I think that was the biggest one this transfer season, and I'm hoping that it continues in the off season, and guys can get that freedom to go around and play where they want to play, or play where a team wants them to be there, and pay the money for them, because these young players especially are very, very good. I hope they get the opportunities.
Major League Soccer there's this burgeoning rivalry with the Liga MX teams. From your perspective, how close are we to seeing an MLS team winning the CONCACAF Champions League? With
the way things are going now, the players that we have coming through, the teams that have stuck together in their core group. I look at a team like Toronto, has really added a lot of talent, but they've stuck together in their core instead of getting in more pieces and putting them out. Those kind of teams are going to make their way and get comfortable with each other, and they have that competition level internally. And it could be hopefully in the next couple of years, where you see either an MLS team, obviously an American team, or a Canadian team to host that trophy.
Playing in the Club World Cup just a few months later.
Let's hope so.
Right. Final question. Neymar he was all over the news, dominated the news last week. 222 million euros.
I mean, he's going to be like this for the rest of his life.
As will his children and grandchildren, and possibly their great-grandchildren. Is he worth that much? Is any player worth 222 million euros?
You know, so here's what you got to think of. As a player, everyone looks at just the player. All right, he is one of the best players, if not the top. He's in the top 11 for sure.
Yeah.
He's in the top, top 5. But then you look at, okay, when he goes to PSG, how about his jersey sales? How about the ticket sales that just shot through the roof? You can add on, so that money is going to be made back.
Right.
In faster than people think.
PSG's Twitter followers.
Exactly, faster than people think. So this gains not just for the player, it's for the club, it's for the city, it's for everything around it. So it's a big fee. Don't get me wrong. It's the biggest fee. But I mean, if you're going to buy a player, he's the one to buy.
He is the one to buy. 25 years old. He's still got another 6 or 7 good years left.
This makes me think, I'm 25. What am I doing with my life? Jeez.
Well, you're on the national team.
I'm only 237 million away.
That's you got to start somewhere. Kelyn Rowe, thank you very much for joining us, being our first guest on the NESN Soccer Show. In the second half, we will talk about the English Premier League. Starts up this Friday. We'll have our preview special, and you'll be here with us.
All right. So thanks, Kelyn, for joining us once again.
Of course.
To shift gears, talk a little Premier League. Chelsea won the Premier League last year. Leicester before that. Chelsea before that. But Marcus, you and I were talking that the Premier League maybe didn't have as many gigantic transfers
Right.
as maybe we're used to. And sort of Neymar steals the highlights there. But, you know, just jumping right into it, who are the sort of biggest movers and shakers leading into this?
Yeah, I mean, going back to last year, it was, I used to say it was the year the adults became back in charge of the Premier League.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like the Leicesters winning it. You know, the big clubs, the Chelseas, the Liverpools, the Manchester Uniteds, Manchester City, Arsenal, Tottenham still in there. And they really separated themselves from the rest of the pack. And you could see that by looking in the table. They had all the points. Everybody else was kind of scrunched up. But as for movers and shakers, some of the transfer business might change that a little bit. I don't expect the top 6 to change too much. But the first one was Everton. They brought in Wayne Rooney. We're not quite sure the impact he's going to make, but it was at least a lot of there was a feel-good factor about it. You know, Everton has spent a good deal of money. They sold Romelu Lukaku, but I think they've done well to really improve their team, actually, if they can manage to replace some of the goals that Lukaku, you know, I think he scored 22 last season.
So, Kelyn, what makes you laugh when you hear about Rooney back to Everton?
You know, you look at Rooney last 2 years really. He's, you know, in and out of the lineups. He's doing well, but you're not sure if he still has the level played. But then he shows this magnificent ball or you know, a great defensive play that leads on. So what's he going to do this year? If he's going to get more time at Everton, okay, is he going to play more? Is he going to play better? And then all of a sudden, does Everton, you know, shine?
Really? Yeah. Okay.
Doesn't that often happen? Sorry, doesn't that happen with stars all the time, where they just show you a little glimpse here and there of what they used to be able to do, but they're really just kind of fading out?
I just think he's done it for so long that if you give him the time and the time frame of say, look, you got 20 games here, go play these 20 games, and then we'll see how you are. Yeah. And those 20 games, he'll be great.
Well, that's definitely going to be an exciting storyline if he can come on and be kind of revive something from a few years ago and find something there. But, you know, Kelyn, U.S. men's national team player. There are some Americans in the Premier League that we're going to talk about. First is a little bit of a hometown guy for New England area, Geoff Cameron from Attleboro, Mass, playing for Stoke City. What can we expect out of him and from Stoke City? Kelyn, let's start with you. Do you know Geoff well?
I've met Geoff, and I've actually played against him. I think it was my first year in the league. He was still playing.
He was with Houston.
Yes, he was. Right. And look, he's a solid player. Yeah. But he's also a versatile player. Yeah. He's played in the midfield for the U.S. team, I believe, for Stoke as well. He's played on the outside back spot, the center back spot. I believe they have him on the outside back for most. And I think he's just a solid player, going to get forward and not going to make many mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's Geoff Cameron is probably the standard bearer amongst Americans in the Premier League this year. Now that Brad Guzan has come back, and you know, there aren't years ago there were a number of Americans in the Premier League. Now there's only a few that we're going to talk about, but Cameron's definitely number one. The problem is, I think Stoke City is going to struggle. They had a rough end of the season last year. I'm not picking them for relegation, but they will be close. On the flip side, Geoff Cameron's going to have a fantastic season because he had an injury last season that kept him out for 3 or 4 months, a good chunk of the season. Yeah. But when he came back, they moved him from center back, which is where I think he wants to play, to center midfield. And you know, I just read recently he had a number of man of the match displays. He's a great athlete in a league that athleticism is really prioritized. You know, you have to be a good soccer player to play in the Premier League.
Right, I've heard.
Yeah, if you are, is that true, Kelyn?
It is very true.
But you know, athletically, there's a lot of running, a lot of power. The league plays really well into his game, so I'm expecting him to have a good season individually, but I think his team's going to struggle.
All right, so moving right along, DeAndre Yedlin. U.S. fans kind of blew up about DeAndre when he scored a goal in the World Cup. Since then, it's been sort of up and down. It's with the national team, kind of, he's been hurt and he's been back, and people are kind of wondering how good he really is. So this is probably a pretty big year for him, or it is a big year for him with the World Cup year next summer, but he plays for Newcastle United. Kelyn, what do we think of DeAndre?
So I actually grew up with DeAndre.
No, really?
Yeah, we played.
boys.
We Washington boys. We played in the same club against each other a few times growing up. He's an exciting player.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Every time you watch him play, especially now, he's an exciting player. He's good on the ball. He's very, very athletic.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's getting smarter and smarter. So instead of having a guy beat him and then recovering, he's not letting the guy beat him, and then he's blowing by. So I think this stint away has been very good for him, and I hope that he stays healthy and gets a good run in with Newcastle.
How often do you stay in touch with him?
When we're back home, we'll text each other and kind of work out together, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Is he the fastest man in U.S. soccer?
The man, it's crazy.
He burns.
He burns.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense.
Yeah. This will be a pivotal season for him.
Right.
He's at Newcastle working under Rafa Benitez, who is the master defensive tactician. He's one of them in the world. And I noticed between the 2015 games the U.S. had, I think they were struggling a bit in 2015. In Copa America, he came along in 2016, did fairly well, starting right back. But after working with Rafa Benitez at Newcastle for 6 months, it was almost like he was a new player.
Yeah.
And these are in the qualifying games and in national team games. I was almost like, wow, is this the same DeAndre Yedlin?
Yeah.
The only problem with that is Newcastle, they haven't done much transfer business, and Rafa Benitez is not happy about it. If he falls out with the owner and he goes, somebody else could come in, and we don't know how that would impact Yedlin.
Right.
I think he's earned Rafa Benitez's trust, but American guys over in England have to prove themselves over and over and over again.
Tenfold for sure.
Yeah. All right, so to now Danny Williams, midfielder. Those are both defenders, Cameron and Yedlin. Midfielders, Danny Williams, Huddersfield Town. Love these names.
It's an old-timey English club.
So what can we expect from Danny Williams and from Huddersfield? Can we really get our expectations very high for for Danny?
For Danny, yes. I mean, he's going to challenge himself.
Yeah.
He played in the German League for so long, and now he's going to come back and play in the Prem. And for him, he's a guy I think he's going to do well, similar to Jeff Cameron, where he's a pretty simple player. He might have some flashes, but he's athletic and he works hard.
Mm-hmm.
Great for this league. And I think in a team like Huddersfield Town, they're going to be stuck in, and they're going to make it a hard game for you. If you score a few goals, their heads might get down. But if you keep them at 0-0, 1-0, it's going to be a tough game.
He's got he's on a new team, Danny Williams, and it's almost like I was surprised when he made the move from Reading to Huddersfield, thinking like, wow, this is a real gamble that he's taking. But he's working with a pretty highly rated manager with David Wagner, who's also American. Wagner trusts him. Wagner picked him and spent the money to get him, so I expect him to play a lot of games. And as Kelyn said, I think they're going to be it's going to be a hard-working year for Huddersfield. I don't expect them to survive, but I expect Danny Williams to play a lot of games in the Premier League and a lot of minutes, and that could really, maybe tilt the scales in his favor when it comes time to picking that 23-man roster for the World Cup.
All right, so Emerson Heineman, is that
prospect.
Right? Yeah.
Prospect.
Yeah. He was on loan last season for Rangers. If he gets playing time with Bournemouth, great. He could really progress this year, but I don't know. I haven't seen them in preseason at all. I don't really know what to expect. I hope he sticks around the Bournemouth squad this season versus being shipped out somewhere on loan, just for his own development, and it'll be a storyline to watch.
It's such a give and take. Does he stay with the first team, maybe the second team at Bournemouth, but get the playing time in the Prem, or does he get shipped away and get the full playing time with a different club?
Yeah.
It just depends. Who's the manager of the club you're sending him to? Who's the manager of the club at Bournemouth, and is he going to get some time at some point with the first team? It's such a give and take, but look, he's a good prospect, and we're hoping that he gets some time.
All right, so on to Cameron Carter-Vickers, Tottenham. He's a very exciting player, somebody I think American soccer fans are excited and want to see more of. What can we expect from him at Tottenham? They finished second in the Premier League last season. So what do we like out of Cameron?
I don't think he's going to play very much in the Premier League. That'll be probably Tottenham's priority.
Yeah.
I could see him playing FA Cup games, League Cup games, depending on the Champions League draw. If they have maybe they get a trip to Cyprus or something like that, he could play against one of those teams. But on the youth national team level, he is one of the players to watch, one of the most highly rated. And I would think any game he plays in the Premier League is a bonus for American fans and for his development.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I see him playing maybe in second-tier games, or maybe coming on for 5 minutes here and there if the game's out of reach. But probably not his breakout season, I wouldn't expect.
For me, this season is about taking your chance. Like you said, maybe he gets a run in the FA Cup game or a Cyprus game, or the last 5 minutes of a game because they need to hold out a victory. You take those 5 minutes, you take those 30 minutes, whatever it may be, you show that you belong there. If an injury comes, or if they need something to happen, if they need something, your name's going to get called up, and you've proven that you can be at that level.
Yeah, it's like at this point of the season, we never really think, oh, somebody could get hurt.
There's a lot of shifts that could be made. So if you take your time and you really crunch it out, you're going to be a top player, and he's already a top prospect.
Kelyn, as your sort of men's national team career begins to blossom, we'll say, and you see players that you know and that you've played against playing in a top level, does that put you more at ease when you go up against maybe a really strong opponent, if it's for the national team?
Germany.
Or if you come up against a really big opponent and you say, well, I know that these guys that I play with can play with these guys we're playing against today. Is it sort of a confidence booster anyway? Anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, of course. These guys aren't, you're playing against a Germany who's a top, they're the best at the moment. No doubt about it in my mind. But you say, oh yeah, I play with this guy, he does this a lot, does that a lot. It gives you a little bit of confidence in that these guys are really human. They're not these superstars all the time. They are human, they make mistakes. Can we take advantage of those mistakes? And to have someone else who you've played with be able to play with them or against them, whatever it may be, a little bit of pointers always go a long way.
Sure. All right, so top 4 finishers.
Prediction
Getting into
time.
Champions League for, what would it be, 2018, 2019. Last year it was Chelsea, Tottenham, Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man United, and Everton in that order.
Yeah.
Think we're going to see a lot of change in that order?
Well, yes and no. I think we'll be reshuffling the deck chairs amongst those 7. The Premier League used to be the big 2, then it was the big 4. Last season it was the big 6. I think Everton is, I don't expect them to compete for the title, but they might make noise and push for one of the Champions League
if Wayne
spots.
Rooney comes through like Kelyn thinks he will.
Right.
Let's hope so.
Or if he does it every week. But it's very tough to call. What I will say is that Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester United, and Manchester City will finish in the top 4. Pick your order.
All right. Kelyn, you said you kind of are casual. You don't necessarily dive into the Premier League. I mean, you got a lot on your plate. But do you think that you can sort of pick out a champion?
It's champion would be hard. I think Tottenham has the talent.
Yeah.
But I don't think they have it for a full season. So I think they're going to come up short again.
And they've shown that in recent seasons.
They're always right there.
Right, week 35, week 36.
They're always right there.
And
I could see a Man City being a lot better. They had the hype, all the big players. I think they can be a lot better as long as they're more defensively sound, which they've already made moves for.
They strengthened their goalkeeping, or at least they spent money on a goalkeeper. They spent money on a fullback. They spent money on another fullback.
Let's hope that money translates in games.
Right.
That's always the hope.
Right.
Let's hope it all translates to a game and kind of comes together for them. But I've got United up there for top 4 as well.
Right.
So you got United, Man City, Tottenham,
Chelsea.
Sorry Arsenal, sorry Liverpool, sorry Everton.
Yeah.
Should I do a prediction?
Absolutely.
I think I like Chelsea to win again, be the first back-to-back winners since Man United, what we got right, 08-09.
Yeah.
I like Tottenham to finish second again, then I like Liverpool to finish third, and Arsenal to finish 4th, with the Manchester's being left out.
Okay.
So among the three of us, we are all over the map.
Yeah. Which means
same, like, gist.
Which means a year
top
from now,
six, top seven.
That's
A
what
year
I
from
said.
now, we
Order
can
the
probably-
deck chairs, however you want to.
we could probably come back and one of us will have been right. And
Yeah.
we'll be like, oh, this
At
guy
least.
Someone will be voted out of the studio.
Yeah. Flip a card. Oh, well, that one seems in. All right.
What about relegations? We mentioned Huddersfield Town could have a tough time.
Yeah.
Anybody? Who else do we think is going
You
to?
said Stoke as well, and it was a close one.
Because
and I
of
think it could be
Stoke,
again.
how they finished last season, I can see them struggling. They made a couple of sales. They sold Arnautovic to West Ham. He was one of their key players.
Yeah.
I haven't seen much they've done to really strengthen themselves, and I worry about what that dressing room is going to look like. Their coach, Marc was. It almost struck me like he was losing control of things towards the end of last season, and if they don't start out well, they could find. That's the problem with the Premier League. You can fall into quicksand,
Right.
and no matter how hard you try, you're just out. So I'm going to say for relegation, Huddersfield. They're just they're happy to be there.
Yeah.
Brighton, who's one of the other newly promoted teams. I haven't heard about them doing much in terms of strengthening. It's really risky to go into a Premier League season with a, championship second division team. I haven't seen much of what Brighton's doing. They have a good coach, Chris Hughton, who's he knows his way around the Premier League, but he's also been relegated and fired before, so
Yeah.
there's no guarantee there. And Huddersfield, Brighton, Stoke City.
All right. We don't have to. We're not going to ask you to predict unless you.
Well, what do you think of Newcastle as well? What if the manager comes out?
If Rafa leaves, they're going down with a thud.
You know what I'm saying? If
Yeah.
they do butt heads, like you said,
Yeah.
there's a chance that you have to, in the middle of a season, beginning of a season, whatever it may be, have a new manager. That's tough to get through.
And this is the problem with trying to predict a season before the transfer window closes.
It's hard.
Rafa could leave over transfers, and that changes everything.
Right.
I think Newcastle will be. They were so good last year.
I know, and I hope they.
Yeah.
They
I
get
see
forward,
them
but-
finishing around mid-table, actually.
Oh, good for you.
Well, yeah. It's, maybe I'm stuck in the '90s, back when Newcastle was when they were a big one.
All right. Well, Kelyn, thanks so much for joining us and sticking around for a little Premier League talk. So when the MLS season ends, do you just? If I were you, I'd just go on like a major soccer trip over to Europe. But
we have a couple guys that actually will go, Italy, Barca,
Yeah.
go to England and watch games. And there's a lot of that happen. But
Yeah.
for me, I'm like, hey guys, I'm in New England. I'm in the snow. Let's go somewhere warm.
yeah.
I'm gonna go on a beach somewhere
Yeah,
and
yeah.
relax because soccer is my life, and I can watch it on TV.
Right. That's fair.
Buenos Aires is nice in the winter.
There we go.
Go catch a Boca game, maybe.
Well,
Are we
all
doing
right.
a final word, Kelyn? We do a final word on the show where we talk about something that's front and center on your mind in the soccer world, or something you're excited about or looking forward to. Do you want to take it this week?
Oof, that's a hard one. I definitely am excited to see how this first week comes out. You saw the big name players start to play in the
Yeah.
preseasons in America. You love to see that. I'm excited for Lukaku.
Yeah.
I'm excited for Lukaku because you see the off the field relationship between him and Paul Pogba.
Oh yeah, Agent P.
Can it translate to the field? If it does, that's a dangerous duo.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. That was a good final word.
Yeah.
Go Revs. Good luck the rest
Final
of the
word, go Revs.
Good luck the rest of the season, and we'll be looking out for you for the national team and keeping track, and hopefully we can have you in again sometime or talk to you down at Gillette Stadium. But yeah, that's all for this week, and we'll see you next time.